Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and it is another day of List Week, where I talk about some of my favorite releases of this past year. And in this particular video, we are talking favorite EPs of 2013. Yeah, Chuchesta!
Oh yeah!
And I'm basically going to be shouting out 15 of my favorite EPs of this year. This list should be pretty interesting considering that I did not review a lot of these EPs, and I'm sort of just talking about them having heard them and having liked them, but didn't really, make a formal video on them. Some of which I regret not doing that for because of how good they are. But either way, check these out. I'm going to try to give the best short description of these that I can, so if you are into this kind of music, maybe you'll check this out. Number 15, the new Active Child EP, the Rapor EP. Lots of groove and electronics on this thing, falsetto, somewhat angelic vocals, some interesting vocal guests, and a solid set of tracks. No songs on here I felt that were as urgent as many tracks from his previous full-length LP, but a very pretty listen indeed. But maybe ever so slightly prettier, the number 14 spot, the Paon EP, Quatorze, Quinze. A handful of tracks that are very drony, spacious ballads sung with very, very, very shy, tender vocals. It's a set of tracks that I wouldn't say are incredibly eventful, but still very sound-rich, textured, pretty, and moving. At number 13, something that is a little lo-fi as well, also with a bit of a shy singer-songwriter type of vibe, but much darker, much noisier, much more tortured. The new Giles Corey EP, Hinterkaifeck. Just 3 tracks on this thing. I was looking for more from it. There were some tracks where I wasn't crazy how the guitars were mixed on this thing, but still, a very eerie EP in the same sort of creepy vein as many tracks from his previous full-length LP that a lot of you may remember I dug quite a bit. At the number 12 spot, the new Ghost EP, Swedish rock and metal outfit Ghost. I wasn't crazy about their latest full-length album all the way through, though I did think there were some great tracks on it. And basically what they do on this new EP is come together with Dave Grohl, who does some production and some instrumentation on this thing, and the band does some pretty decent covers of artists like Depeche Mode, Rocky Erickson. They do an ABBA deep cut on this thing too. And overall, it's just a solid effort, some very fun, eerie, occult revisions on this thing. Next, at number 11, the new Title Fight EP, Spring Songs, some indie rock and post-hardcore on this EP, several tracks, and while I don't really think these guys are the most distinct band on the block in terms of style and sound, I do think they know how to write a catchy song or two, which they do at least a few times on this EP. At number 10, the new Parquet Quartz EP, Tally All the Things That You Have Broken. I hate your face for breaking all these things. Tally All the Things That You Broke. Another indie rock EP. I dug this one a little bit more. I do think Parquet Quartz wrote some of their catchiest and some of their weirdest material on here as well, with that final track running almost 8 minutes with a weird drum machine in the background. If you're looking for some indie rock with a bit of a tongue-in-cheek attitude and a lot of energy, a lot of gusto, then do check this thing out. Next, at number 9, the new Pete Swanson EP, Punk Authority. A very abrasive combination of just pure noise, what I perceive to be an influence from the power electronics route, and techno on this thing with some very propulsive beats. This thing is pretty rhythmic and looping and cyclical with its hypnotic repetitions, but it has this harsh, abrasive noise element that really just numbs the mind, turns it to mush over the very short period of time that this EP lasts. Next, the new Soupcans EP at number 8, Parasite Brain. Some of the most abrasive, in-your-face, balls-to-the-wall garage punk and noise rock I've heard this year. These guys are filthy, disgusting, nasty all over this EP. Nasty! At number 7, the new Lorde EP, Love Club, even though I wasn't in love with her full-length LP from beginning to end because of just how stripped back some of the instrumentals were. Her very simple kind of skeletal sound works really well on these 5 tracks, and this EP does have some of her best songs from this year, so it works out. I think she has a very good voice. I think she has style. I think she has direction. However, I mean, she is young, and that does show in her vocal abilities, that does show in her songwriting abilities, that does show in her lyrical abilities. But I think, considering how mature she is right now at this point in her career, she's someone who is worth watching. At number 6, the Milo EP, Things That Happen at Night. Essentially, Milo being a very eccentric, somewhat nerdy rapper with a very pronounced personality in his raps, but a very sort of slow, spacious flow. And he is riding a lot of very cloudy trap rap beats on this thing that are just very ethereal. He put out 2 EPs this year, and this was my least favorite of the 2, but I still liked it quite a bit. Next at number 5, the new Flaming Lips EP, Peace Sword. You should know the Flaming Lips at this point. Experimental rock outfit, art rock outfit, psychedelic rock and psychedelic pop outfit. I wasn't too insane over the last full length they put out this year. I did like it, but I thought it was a little overbearing and sort of one-dimensional with its constant bleakness and lack of musical variation. However, I did think there were some pretty bright, joyous, and texturally interesting songs on this new EP of theirs. I thought it was pretty interesting that they wrote at least some of this music for the Ender's Game soundtrack, and only one song actually made it into the movie, with the rest of the EP, from what I have been told, allegedly being rejected by the producers of the movie. Regardless of what these songs were written for, I do think it is a solid EP, and in my opinion, at least, a more enjoyable listen than the album that they just dropped. Next at number 4, some industrial techno coming from the electronic music duo collaborative Trade with the She Works 005 EP. 4 tracks on this thing of techno tracks that are somewhat mid-sized, around 4, 5, 6 minutes each, and the beats are hard-hitting, the textures are just really rough and kind of gritty, grimy, noisy. It just has this straightforward simplicity to it, but I just love how thick and heavy the beats and grooves are. I just like how visceral and undeniable these grooves are. I've gotta move to this thing. Yet there is something so cold and strange about the noises that fill many of these tracks up. Just some really interestingly produced techno tracks with some great grooves. At number 3, the new Shlohmo EP, Laid Out. This electronic music producer is a bit of a stylistic chameleon, and I feel like he really did something interesting on this EP by taking this currently popular trap music sound and doing something really dark and spacious and moody with it. Though a lot of people out there are familiar with electro fusions with trap and cloud rap's influence coming from trap music, this to me stuck out, especially with some of the vocal samples, as being a little more soulful, melodic, very well put together. Though I do think this thing was sort of one-dimensional to a degree, it did have some of my favorite songs of this year on it. We're almost to the top of the list, everybody! At number 2, the new Bolzer EP, Aura. These guys are a somewhat new Swedish death metal outfit. They're a duo. And this new EP of theirs is a part of their very short discography. It's got 3 tracks on it. 3 monsters, really, that vary from like 6 to 10 minutes. And I liked what this band was doing with death metal on this EP a lot. I thought they were writing with some pretty progressive structures, writing multifaceted songs, as well as tracks that had a lot of dynamics with louder spots, quieter spots, variations in the vocals. And throughout these tracks, especially on the first 2 songs here, the guitar melodies are absolutely sinister, and they're very bright too. They really stick out in the mix. It's a solid EP. Check it out. And finally, for my number 1 spot, my favorite EP of the year, Milo's Things That Happen at Day. If you couldn't have already guessed. With Riley Lake on production for every track here, this Wisconsin rapper puts together a series of songs that not only have interesting structures, some very progressive, weird, funny, and very personal at times lyrics, but some of the tracks on here, especially like Almond Milk Paradise, I thought had some of the catchiest choruses in hip-hop this year, and I do think that this EP features Milo's best material yet. And I think that's all I can say about it. I just really enjoy it. I loves it. And that's about it. Cool? Cool. Transition, every single EP I talked about in this video, there is information in the description box of this video to where you can find out about these EPs or maybe even hear them. What did you think of this list? Did you love it? Hate it? Why? What were some of your favorite EPs of this year? What EPs did I forget? Which EPs are you pissed off that I didn't like? Which EPs did your mom turn you on to and you're like, whoa, mom, I didn't know you were into such cool music, but I mean, I have been showing you some cool music, and like, you've liked cool music like forever, so that's the best. Family. Love one another. It's the holidays, everybody. EPs, 2013, music, forever.